Hi lovely beings, welcome to the final wave spell. So this is a Galactic Mayan report for Tuesday the 25th of June 2024, and we're in the final 13 days of the spin that began in October 2023. So if you haven't got your copy yet of the Galactic Mayan diary, get on it. Inside you will find all you need to know about how the diary works. Lots of juicy, wonderful information about all the different elements. This coffee's been in my bag. I managed to spill coffee in it before I've used it. So we've got the Zolk in there, and then the different elements. And then we've got a breakdown of all of the archetypes. And then we have a breakdown of all the tones. So when we're going through these 13-day processes, we are journeying the tone, the day, the number of the 13-day process along with the archetype. Then alongside that, you get a page a day to record your experiences. And at the beginning of each wave spell, at the end of each wave spell, you get a wave spell review. And at the beginning of each wave spell, I write poetry, you know, or I channel it. And then we also, within the diary, have the moon months. So we've got 13 moons within the Galactic Mayan calendar also. Let me find one for you, because I also channel poetry around the moons too. And then at the back, you've got a little bit more information and a space to record the Galactic Mayan signatures of people in your life. So it's a really wonderful tool. Oh yeah, shit. And then there's a page a day for you to write about your experiences, and that's the core piece. So within this framework, it's an evolutionary framework of time. So what we are able to do with the Galactic Mayan calendar is we're having these experiences on planet Earth, and I feel like the more conscious we're becoming, the more open we are to evolution, conscious evolution. And what I mean by that is working to become more empowered, working to not be falling asleep at the wheel of our experiences due to our past traumas or cultural conditioning. So when we're saying that we're doing that, sometimes it can get amped up to fuck. And this is what, I think most of us on the path have felt this for a long time. It's you kind of lulled into this false sense of security when you first start, and it's oh my god, I can feel everything, I can feel life, and everything's wonderful. And then it's oh fuck, we've got a lot of subconscious energy to deal with, and there's not so many human beings on the planet, considering how many human beings are on the planet, that are saying yes to doing that work. And I think particularly, for women, the pain body, we've had so much suppression and so much oppression. And I guess women have had more oppression, men have had more suppression, but the feminine as a whole, in terms of emotional expression, has been so cut that all of this grief and pain and all the rest of it is trapped. So what this framework allows is a space for us to journey that. But what happens when we are able to contextualize our experiences in the framework of the wave spell or the day, so the archetypes that are present, we can feel the validation of, oh shit, of course I'm journeying that today, because that's the energy that's present. So it helps us to witness that even the unconscious moments are perfectly coded, and we can continue then to work on elevating the octave of each archetype that we are able to embody and journey with. So now we are in the final 13 days as of Tuesday. That means that we're wrapping up the whole of this cycle. So again, with the Galactic Mayan calendar, it's a time for us to review what our conscious evolution path has been for the past 9 months. Since October, what are the mountains that you've moved? And this is a big part. Before I even speak into the wave spell energy, this 13 days is an opportunity for us to really bed into the integration of what we've journeyed, because I do feel that this time on planet Earth is testing us, and it's pushing us beyond our capacity so that we break into a new version of humanity. but it's brutal and it can feel relentless, and we have to carve the time out to be able to pause and reflect and integrate. So my invitation primarily to you for this 13 days is to carve that time, to find the way to clear the decks a little bit and create pockets, no matter how fucking busy you are, where you can just feel into like what the last 9 months has been. And this is another reason that the diary is so significant, because it's like we've got a record of what the 9 months has been, as opposed to it being like, okay, I'm just going to like try and reflect on what has happened and what I've journeyed. And it helps us when we've journaled to recognize the evolutionary process, because sometimes when we look at our memory, you know, it's like, okay, here's the factual things, the events that happened, but not necessarily like how was I feeling about that thing then and how am I feeling about that thing now. So as we are approaching the end of the cycle, primary invitation, feel into how you've grown, give yourself props, recognize what's still maybe resonating quite strongly in terms of pain body, and see that as potentially something that you can use as an intention as we move into the new cycle that will begin in 13 days' time. But also, this 13 days is governed by the energy of the yellow star. That's the final archetype of our entire 9-month, 260-day process of evolution. 20 archetypes, the final archetype is the yellow star. And the yellow star is all about us being the star that we are. It's all about us being able to find the way to embody ourselves and shine and be seen and be witnessed. There are a few pieces to speak into, you know, within the yellow star energy, and I think, you know, one of the big beginning points sorry if this is a weird angle, I use a different camera now, but my internet was just like, nah, I'm not going to connect, so I've had to do it on my phone, and that's, anyway, but just, you're kind of looking that way, which is a bit weird, but it's all good. So there are a few pieces to the yellow star. I guess the primary piece of yellow star is about your individuality, and yes, we are all one, but we are all pieces of the one, and each piece is intricately designed, intricately manifesting. There is not two pieces that are the same on the planet. There's not two pieces of humanity that are the same. There can be a lot of similarities, but then there's that little bit there that makes you unique. With the yellow star, it's like claiming our individuality, claiming our uniqueness, claiming our weirdness. I'll get onto the weakness in a minute. And letting our freak flag fly. I fucking love that. Like, I've always been weird, you know, and I had a very supportive mum who encouraged me to be weird. So there was like always this, I don't know, it was like when I was younger, I probably could have got really bullied, but the way that I was able to hold my weirdness because of my mum's affirmation, I guess, meant that nobody's ever really fucked with me. But our weirdness is our strength, is our gift, and you know, it sits in total opposition to what the system would like us to become. Because when each person is in their individuality, each person is on their own unique path, and we've been sold this idea that there is a path. And I know that I make reference to the path, and I do feel on a sort of higher dimensional level that there is the path, which is that we as people that are coming into embodiment are here evolving the human game. You know, there was a time where evolution was like this kind of organic, instinctual thing, and then with the way that consciousness has developed and our free will has developed, it's like, oh, now we've got to fucking choose it. And in a lot of ways, who the fuck wants to choose that? If you don't choose it, you're going to get battered anyway. But also, like, who would want to do that? Putting ourselves in adversity so that we change form. Holy shitballs, it is so intense. It's so much. But yes, The other piece of yellow star that I feel, well, it fell out of my mouth, didn't it? Weakness. Claiming our weakness. Claiming our vulnerabilities. The star that you are is not necessarily your strongest expression into the world. It's exactly who you are where you're at now. And there's an element of this archetype that supports us to reframe our vulnerabilities into a story of humanity. And I know, again, I've said this before, like, stories get really shamed. Like, oh, you've been in your story and you shouldn't be in your story. It's all non-dual and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, right, okay. That can be your belief system, darling. But we are all living legends, like, and I don't mean a legend like, yo, you're one of the, like, chosen people in humanity. I mean that we have walked a path of life that has brought us to a certain space that, man, I'd totally forgotten that the reason that I stopped using my phone is because it's got low storage, so it, like, cuts out in the middle of fucking videos. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, our vulnerabilities. You know, we've all got this path that we've walked, which has given us superpowers. You know, it's given us this incredible ability to, like, show up in the world and to provide, you know, medicine and action and holding and transmutation and all of these wonderful things. But it's also left us with deep vulnerabilities, and it's about us reframing the narratives that are kind of put on us. So I've been journeying something quite deep within my sensitivity recently, and, you know, a dear sister of mine was holding space for me, and I was really crying, and, you know, she spoke to this thing of, like, you know, your sensitivity is what makes you you. You know, it makes you different, but it makes you able to provide something that's not that accessible, whilst also it means that you are impacted in things in much deeper ways than other people may be. So it's about how do we reframe and reclaim ourselves as the star that we are too? How do we take back our own narrative? And it's not about that then necessarily being shared with the world. It's about our own inner experience with ourselves. And when we allow ourselves to be who we are and own who we are, then we can begin to shine our light into the world. Whereas when we are tangled up in shame and pain, we don't feel safe and able to shine our light, and that's a big part of the yellow star. The other side of things that I wanted to speak into was around how we can find our way of being who we are, shining our light, and allowing everybody else to be shining their light at the same time. And this is something that is quite difficult to, it's almost like the gateway after the gateway after the gateway with all these archetypes or themes of what it is to be a human. It's like, okay, phase 1. How the fuck do I step into the arena and take up space when I feel really unsafe and I feel really shy and I'd rather just be in the background, but I can feel that there's this thing that's wanting to be expressed within me, that's wanting to be heard or witnessed or seen or whatever. Phase 1, step into the arena. Fuck, okay, finally I've got here. Whew. But then it's like, phase 2, I can shine and they can shine. And how can we share the space together to shine alongside one another or within the group? And I always found like jamming is like the most beautiful expression of this, you know, that I've witnessed. It's like, you know, when people are jamming and singing and playing instruments, and like, whoa, you can have like so many people's gifts and magic all weaving in together that then creates the most profound experience of sound, because everyone's weaving together. And I think sometimes in sound, in the realm of sound, you know, because it is a dimensional reality, sound is a dimensional reality, it's easier to find that harmonization because we're not in form anymore. You know, we're in the energetics, whereas when we're in form, it can be a bit more tricky, and, you know, it can be triggering. So it's like sometimes us being in the star that we are can trigger other people, and people can have all these ideas about us and like make all these judgments about us because whatever it is within them feels threatened by our shining, but equally we can feel overshadowed by someone else's shine, and all these different pieces are operating. So it's like phase 2 of the yellow star process is like, how do I shine alongside others shining? And sometimes that can be a bit trickier, but the aim of the game here is for us all to be consciously evolving together. And as we consciously evolve, we become more and more of who we are. We become more and more of our authentic selves, because we're taking away the conditioned identity. So it's like all the things that we learned through the imprints of who we were taught to be, all the things that came through our trauma. Like as we integrate and release and reframe those pieces, then we're becoming more of ourselves and we're able to shine more. But the idea of this realm, the thing that evolution's pulling everything toward, is like all of us shining together. There is enough space for everybody, and that's contrary to popular belief. I remember years ago at an ecstatic dance, I had a really profound moment of feeling this energy, and I think it might have been within the yellow star wavespell, so I was like able to reflect on it a bit clearer. Again, get yourself a fucking diary. And the thing that came through was like around the women being jealous of other women, and it was like because when I dance I'm quite expressive, and like sometimes weirdly like that can make me feel quite insecure, because it's like, I don't know, like I feel quite uninhibited. It's a place that I feel quite uninhibited and connected to my body and connected to myself, and I can go into quite deep processes that can look a bit intense on the outside or whatever. But there was this moment of being like, it's not about the space being taken on the horizontal, it's the space vertically, so like infinitely upward and infinitely downward. And when each person is gridded into that and taking up the space in that direction, expressing themselves in that direction, what that means energetically is that everyone's got equal space. Like if you were to chop up a room like in the in the horizontal, there would be a tiny space for each person, and if somebody expanded, then the person next to them would have less. Whereas when it's a vertical, no matter how much you expand, you're not taking anything from anyone else. So there's a piece of that within the yellow star that really wants us to explore and to journey. So being the star that you are is the aim of this 13-day process, alongside integrating the past 9 months for you and getting ready. We're in the back of the solstice portal. Whether it's winter or summer, it kind of doesn't matter, because at each solstice point there's a death and a birth simultaneously. So we're going through this rebirth anyway, and then we've got this 13-day process before we rebirth through the 9-month spin. And the 13 moon spin is going to be rebirthing soon too, but this 9-month evolutionary spin is about to complete. So this is really a moment of reflection, and in order to understand the star that you are, the magic being that you are, your unique individuality and medicine and gifts and challenges, reflection is the key. It's not like this, like, oh, who am I? It's like, who am I? When you like look backwards, like, okay, this thing and this thing and this thing and this lights me up and this challenges me and this happened and that happened. And then from that we can integrate that to be like, okay, and it's not static. Who we are is not static. Who we are is ever evolving and changing. But how can we love ourselves through that recognition? How can we allow ourselves more permission through that recognition? How can we allow others more permission through that recognition? So it's your last chance to get the diary. Get it ordered. The link's going to be in the comments. It's honestly the best tool ever. And I'm not just saying that. I created it because I used to kind of do it myself in all of my notebooks. And I was like, fuck it. Like, people were asking me to teach them about the Galactic Mind Calendar. And like, it's about lived experience. Like, I can tell you like a few of the pointers, but you've got to live it. You've got to live in tune with it. You've got to align with it. Reflect upon your own evolutionary process. And then you start to get it. And then it starts to open up a different realm in this realm. It's like, so get your copy. And if you order it now, it will arrive in time so that you can start the new cycle afresh. So yeah, my loves, I will see you for the beginning of the next spin. Sending you all my love, and thank you so much for tuning in and being on the evolutionary path at this time on planet Earth, which is fucking tricky. You're doing great, we're doing great, and it's all gonna be okay.